We usually think of our bodies as being run by signals from, say, our glands. But what if one of the biggest keys to our metabolism, and maybe even longevity, comes from a place we've almost completely overlooked? Today, we're going to talk about a hidden messenger that comes from the tiny power plants inside every single one of our cells. So let's just dive right in. We are talking about a peptide called MOTS-c. And what you're seeing here is basically its journey from its creation deep inside our mitochondria, our cellular power plants, all the way to its impact on the rest of the body. Believe me, this is a story that is completely rewriting the rules of how our cells talk to each other. And this is a totally revolutionary idea. I mean, for decades, we've thought of mitochondria as just the powerhouses of the cell, right? Their job is to just generate energy. But the discovery of MOTS-c is showing us that they're also these incredibly dynamic signaling hubs, sending out critical messages that can influence our entire system, from our muscles all the way to our metabolism. Okay, so let's get to the heart of it. What exactly is this messenger, and what makes it so different from all the other signals we're used to hearing about in biology? All right, so MOTS-c is basically a tiny protein, just 16 amino acids long. But here's the kicker, the thing that makes it so unique. It's where it comes from. It's not coded in the main DNA in our cell's nucleus, where almost all our proteins come from. Nope. It comes directly from the separate little loop of DNA that's inside our mitochondria. This puts it in a whole new class of molecules called mitochondrial-derived peptides, or MDPs. It's literally a direct signal from our energy source. Now, what's really fascinating is how MOTS-c actually works. Think of it as an adaptive stress signal. So, when our bodies are under pressure, say from a really intense workout or from fasting, the mitochondria release MOTS-c. And its job is to help our cells manage energy way more efficiently and get our metabolism back in balance. It's kind of like the body's own internal coach, telling our cells how to be more resilient. So you might be asking, how can such a tiny little molecule have such a huge effect on everything? Well, it turns out it targets one of the most important metabolic switches in our entire body. To really get MOTS-c, you have to know about something called AMPK. Just think of it as the metabolic master switch inside our cells. When our energy levels get low, AMPK is the thing that flips on and tells the cell, okay, stop storing fat and start burning fuel for energy right now. It's the key sensor for our entire cellular energy economy. And this is where it all connects. As you can see here, MOTS-c doesn't just randomly hit that AMPK switch. No, it starts a very specific chain reaction that ultimately leads to flipping that master switch on, which is absolutely critical for restoring our metabolic balance. So here's how it works in 3 simple steps. First, some kind of stress, like exercise, triggers the mitochondria to produce MOTS-c. Second, MOTS-c goes and affects something called the folate cycle, which causes a buildup of another molecule called AICAR. And third, it's that AICAR that directly activates the master switch, AMPK. So you see, MOTS-c is the spark that ignites this incredibly powerful energy-optimizing fire in our cells. Now, this whole mechanism is fascinating, for sure, but what really put MOTS-rog on the map was some of the incredible early research. So let's take a look at the studies that got scientists so incredibly excited about its potential for longevity and our health. It really all kicked off with this landmark study back in 2015. So researchers took some mice and put them on a high-fat diet, which is pretty much a guaranteed way to cause obesity and insulin resistance. But then, they gave one group of these mice daily injections of MOTS-c, while the other group, the control group, got nothing. The results were, well, they were just remarkable. If you look at this chart, you can see the mice on the high-fat diet gained a ton of weight, as you'd expect. But the mice who are also getting MOTS-c, they were almost completely protected from that weight gain, even though they were eating the exact same unhealthy diet. And what's more, they also resisted developing insulin resistance. Just incredible. But it wasn't just about weight. Other studies found that MOTS-c had this amazing exercise mimic effect. When they gave it to older mice, it actually improved their physical capacity and their running endurance, letting them perform more like much younger mice. It was like it was rejuvenating their muscles on a deep metabolic level. Okay, now with results like those, it's really easy to get carried away, but we have to pump the brakes a bit and be realistic. Let's look at the major hurdles standing between these amazing studies and any kind of real-world use. So let's be super clear here. On one hand, the promise is huge. We're talking better metabolic health, better physical performance, maybe even some real anti-aging potential. But then there's the reality. And the reality is that almost all of this research has been done in mice. Human data is extremely limited, and this is absolutely not an approved therapy for people.
And on top of that, there are some major technical challenges. The molecule itself is pretty fragile. It has poor stability and a really short half-life, which means it breaks down very quickly in the body. It's also really hard to deliver it to the right tissues where you'd want it to do its job. And most importantly, we have basically zero long-term human safety data, which is an absolute must-have for any new therapy.
And this is exactly why MOTS-c is classified as a research-only compound. It's not a supplement you can go out and buy, it's not a medicine, and it is not FDA-approved for any use whatsoever. It's a truly fascinating area of research, but its use in humans is still a long, long way off. So, with all of those warnings in place, what's the big picture here? Why are we so excited about MOTS-c, even if it never actually becomes a therapy we can use? Well, the really crucial point is that MOTS-c has fundamentally changed our understanding of the mitochondrion. Its discovery has blown open a whole new field of medicine focused on these things called mitochondrial-derived peptides. It's proven to us that our cellular power plants are also master communicators, actively regulating our health and our longevity. And that really leaves us with a final, pretty amazing thought. MLT Classic might just be the very first messenger we've been able to decode from this hidden world. So you have to wonder, what other signals are our mitochondria sending out? Could the future of metabolic medicine, and maybe even longevity itself, be hiding inside the powerhouses of our very own cells?